All right, this is Mike Pisani. This is Thursday, the 2nd of November. Man, can you guys believe it? It is November already. And tonight we're going to talk about deciphering option flow and institutional flow. I'm going to show you some examples. If you want to get a hold of me, Mike at AlphaSharkcom. On Twitter, it's at OptionsMike. You should all follow me, by the way. I post tons of stuff on there for free, including videos, setups from the stuff I charge for my service. I put out there a lot as well. And you can follow me on YouTube. You guys should subscribe. It'll tell you when I'm going live. YouTube.com/OptionsMike. I know, so much information, man. Just so much out there. All right, so let's get on with it. So day trading, short-term trading, option trading, and futures trading are extremely risky undertakings. They generally are not appropriate for someone with limited capital, little or no trading experience, and or low tolerance for risk. Never execute a trade unless you can afford to and are prepared to lose your entire investment. All trading operations involve serious risk and you can lose your entire investment. No trades are recommendations or advice and we cannot be sued for losses of capital. All trades are for educational purposes only. Contact your broker or RIA for execution, margin, and other capital requirements. Everyone watching this presentation adheres to all disclaimers from optionhacker.com, AlphaShark.com, and me, Mike Pisani. All right, the risk disclaimer out of the way. Let's move on. Let's get going here. All right, so I'm going to do option terms real quick because I think some of you guys have a hard time with that. I know people are always asking me questions, so we'll go over that real quick. We'll jump into sentiment, and then in the institutional flow, we're going to show some stuff I like and examples of stuff I wouldn't touch this week, and I'll show you why. And that's part of deciphering this stuff. That's tough. I don't know about you guys. I'm worn out. It's been a long, long week since last Friday. This market's got me a little bit worn out at this point. We'll go from there, service offering, and then your charts till the end or until my voice craps out, whichever comes first. Probably my voice tonight, but we'll see. Okay, some option terms you guys all need to be familiar with. If you're going to follow me or if you ever join my service, and even if you don't, you see stuff posted by other people out there, there's a lot of guys that do options. Good stuff to know. A sweep. A sweep is a player who wants the options and wants them now. So they sweep across multiple exchanges to get filled as quick as possible. Most of the time, a sweeper, they're paying really close to the ask. If not the ask itself, they're really within right on top of it, right? So that's the most aggressive type of option buyer out there. Somebody who's sweeping out there, going across multiple exchanges, filled as quick as possible, really pretty much on the ask. Okay, that's followed by a block. A block is a negotiated buy through one exchange. See this a lot, like, for example, Comcast today. We saw a huge block of January 2019 35 calls go off. It is recording, Raymond. I'm not supposed to be recording it, but I did record this one, so you guys can get to see that. So we saw a huge block of Comcast 35 2019s go off, and that was negotiated at a set price. So the buyer knew they wanted them, and he called around the multiple exchanges until he found somebody that was willing to sell them to him at a fair price. Bullish, but not like I need to have it now. Split, same thing as a block, except the buyer can't get all the options he wants through one exchange. He has to go through two or more. What really happens there is they just don't have enough to cover him. They don't have enough stock options available to them. And lastly, it's tied to stock. We see this a lot. Tied to stock, it's not a clean buyer or seller. It's tied to a stock position, so it's really hard to tell the intent. Are they really trying to protect an investment? Are they buying calls to protect a short position, or are they buying puts to protect the long stock position? So, it's very, very difficult on those things to tell. If you have any questions on the option terms, please put them out now before we go on. Other things you need to know: put call seller. Player sells puts, often associated with willing to own the stock at that price. Likewise, player selling calls is often calling a top. So if you sell puts out in the marketplace, right, you're saying, I'm putting a floor in. I'm willing to own this stock at this price. We saw put buying in Bank of America today. We'll often see put, usually when we get some kind of pullback, it's usually put buying that kind of, for me, signals that we are hitting a bottom area. That's where somebody big is coming in to defend that area. Likewise, when we see a lot of call selling going on, it indicates that there might be in for a short-term top there. That means that the player that is selling those calls is willing to give his stock up if it closes above that strike. So, with just different things to look at. We haven't seen much call selling lately. Volume, how many calls or puts have been traded on a strike on a given day, right? This is, this is the same thing as looking at the volume on a stock, right? How much volume is in there on this particular day. Open interest is the number of calls or puts that are currently in play on that strike. The thing is, they could be sold to open or bought to open. You don't know, but we do know how many options are in play on any particular strike. And the size of the bet is, I qualify that as the quantity of the options as well as the dollar value. So somebody that buys 10,000 options at the money versus somebody buys 10,000 options way out of the money, it's not exactly the same type of bet, right? So we saw some cheap bets out into some JP Morgan last week. They were buying the 110 calls for this week. That's a really cheap bet. So he spent like $50,000 buying like 20,000 or something like that, some outrageous number. I'd rather see the guy come in who spends $200,000 to buy the at the money or just out of the money strikes on options. So we always take that into account when we look at the type of bets going on. Is this a cheap lotto play, or is this somebody putting real money to work? All right, you guys have any questions on that? Okay, so let's jump into sentiment real quick. So not much has changed since last week. Last Thursday, I did a webinar for you guys. I told you I thought Friday was going to be an explosive day. God, was it an explosive day? What a day we all had. Hope you guys all did really well with it too. Since then, we've chopped around a lot, and it's funny. The fear and greed index, which was right around here last week, is right back again. It went up on Friday, and it's come all the way back down again. This just shows that the market right now is just in a very choppy mode at this point, and there's good reason for it. Tax plans getting rolled out there, and we have the jobs number tomorrow, and we have all the political stuff going on with Trump and that's just making people a little nervous. No major fear though, nothing really going on. You'll see what I mean. We look at sentiment. This is social sentiment. These are retail investors like you and me. So the SPY chugging along at 60%, up just a tad since last week, but nowhere near any area we're concerned. The Qs are getting a little heated here. They're up at 71%. Not horrible, but usually I've seen it as high as 80, but starting to get it's holding that high level here. Maybe time for some rotation out of some of these names into some of the other areas again. Might start seeing that. And the IWM has really worked off that bullish sentiment. It's down to 52% here again, really getting kind of rocked around, but I think it's still set up pretty good at this point. So let's jump into the oscillators. The oscillators, one of the reasons I still continue to think that we don't get a big sell-off is even despite Friday and all the bullish activity we've seen in the market, the NYMOT, which is the New York Stock Exchange oscillator, is negative 60. Not a good place for it to have a big sell-off. Usually our big sell-offs come when we're overheated and we're up towards 200. So usually you don't get big sell-offs down here. Likewise, on the NASDAQ, we're even worse. We're negative 69. We bounced a little today. But we can see we're really not in position here for that big sell, that hard sell-off that would bring us crashing down. There would have to be an event, something that rocked the markets. So, what these measures, and we never know when that's coming, right? The black swan event, something happens, something that nobody was expecting. You can't take that into account. But what this is telling us is the market here is not set to sell off right now. It's still in bull mode. It might pull back. It might futz around. It might try to shake everybody out. They love to shake us out. But that's kind of where we are here. The VIX. It's kind of become comical, guys. If you guys follow me on Twitter, every day we go through this. Whoops, spike, sell. Spike, sell. Look at this. Every time we get out of the Bollinger Band on a hard spike like that, it sells off and it comes right back in. Last week looked like we were going to have something, and then it just sold right back down just as quick. And here we are again, back under 10. I mean, this is just the last 6 months. We've been living under 10 for the most part, except for some very brief moves above it. So there's just no fear in this market. It remains that way. The Qs. So the Qs shook the tree all the way to the 8-day today. We haven't seen that since that gap and go of, hey, last Friday. The Qs have been riding up higher now that they finally got to all-time highs. Remember, the Qs were lagging the SPY and everything for a while here. Shook the tree to the 8-day, closed all the way almost back, all the way up today. Apple, you guys saw, had a huge beat. Last I saw about 25 minutes ago was trading somewhere up around 173.80, somewhere in that range. Looks good to go. If they didn't sell it off yet, I don't think they'll sell it off going into tomorrow. If Apple's strong and stays up, we're likely to get a gap in the Qs, depending upon what. Who knows what's going on tomorrow? Who's paying attention? First Friday of the month is? Anybody? Bueller? Thank you, Charles. You win. David, jobs number on non-farm payroll. All right, that's the only glue in the ointment here. That's the only potential problem we have. So we'll see how that plays out. On the SPX, so today there's the first time we were below the 8 days since we gapped up above it. They shook the tree but closed us back nice and strong here. Look at RSI. Since we were really overheated, I put that in a little clip out window over there. Look how much they've worked that off. They've set the stage here for another move. Thanks, Noel. Have one for me, because I could certainly use one today. I haven't had a drink in a couple of days, so I can really go for one. Anyway, looking good here going into the number tomorrow, and specifically the banks. On the IWM, this thing, look at the RSI. Look how heated we got after it finally broke out. Look at that big move, right? Came off that hammer bottom, got above the 200-day, got above the 8-day, and never looked back through that run. Once we broke above there, it just held the 8-day until it hit its exhaustion spot up here on about around 150 plus. Right now, all it's doing here is it's consolidating. It's just really sloppy. Arthur, you didn't miss all that much. You trust me, the good stuff's right ahead. It's really consolidating. Yesterday was a wild candle in it. Looked strong like it wanted to go. Today it was green all day when the markets were weak. It's still in that channel. As long as it holds this channel, it's okay. It's just wide and loose and sloppy. I've seen a good amount of call buying coming into it lately. So maybe it's getting ready to start warming up. All right, my open positions, guys. You always like me to update these. My VXX calls are going to expire worthless in 2.5 weeks unless something really strange happens, and I'm really okay with that. They did their job. I'm sitting in ILG March 31 calls. That's my buyout candidate. I'm still in my common positions there, although Twitter I'm down even less than I was after Thursday. Last Thursday I sold a bunch more, so I'm down to probably have about 15% or so of my position I had going into earnings. And I'm looking to add now, and we'll talk about that a little bit. I have initiated, I have Jan 75 calls. I have Goldman Sachs January 260 calls. Both of those I trimmed yesterday into strength. I got stopped out of my GS calls today with a profit because it pulled hard, and then I bought them back a little bit higher because I did not want to be I did not want to be out of it, and I was sorry for get out of it. I'm sitting in JD calls. I never had a big position there. It's very red, November 43s, and I have Netflix November 205 calls, which I almost rolled out to December today, but just the way it was trading all day had me stay in it, and I'm looking to make a bigger play on that tomorrow. So that's where I am, my positions, just in case you guys want to know what I'm doing. All right, so let's go. Oh, David, I always just put $1 in front of the symbols. I forgot them on CNGS. It's usually how you put them up in Twitter and bring things up. So I'm just a bad habit. So if you want to search a stock in Twitter, put the $1 in front of it. Otherwise, it won't come up. All right, on to institutional flow, and we're going to go into deciphering some of this stuff. So last week we talked about STX. All that call buying, I think it was November 24, 39 calls. Earnings did not, from WC, didn't help. There's been no trigger in that yet, no reason to get involved. BMI, remember I brought that one up to you. That trade would be working here. You'd be profitable, but you had to endure some pain, and it really didn't trigger to 1030. So it got one more down day before it went. Yeah, I live on Twitter, Dave, so I understand where that one went. Twitter, man, that gave a nice day too. Beautiful. If you, as long as you put stops in place and didn't give it back, you would have had a great trade on that. Now, not no, now is the time to look for new entrants. Twitter has pulled back. I'm sure that's one of the charts we'll go over tonight. Bank of America, more and more call buying every day. It's a patience trade. If you guys are in it, I'd be staying with it, and we're going to go over that one. And Celgene, I point out to you guys, was a high risk trade. It worked if you were really quick, but you had to be quick with your exits as well. And honestly, it's just not acting right yet, although I will tell you that sentiment in biotech is getting extremely bearish. And usually when it gets bearish, what do? When everybody and their mother is bearish and held up. Everybody else can hear me, I think, AP. I think it's just you. So what happens when we get really bearish sentiment in something? Is anybody hearing me? Gap up. Not gap up, Stan. Nope. What do? Pops. This is it, David. Right. We turn around and we rip their face. They rip their shorts' faces off. It's exactly it. When people get too short and too bearish, they turn around and they bring it back the other direction. That's the pain trade, right? That's what they like to do. All right. So this one is from today, guys. Buy the dip. Yep. By the way, buying the dip in this market every day for the last 5 days has worked perfectly. There you go, Noel. You like them too. You see what I'm talking about. So I brought this one up today. I didn't take this trade. In retrospect, I really should have. But I don't know the name well. It's Trivago, TRVG. God, my throat's shot. Yep. And that's not even all the flow. There was more of it, but they started coming into the November 750 calls, and I really wasn't paying attention to it, guys. I got to be honest with you. Sometimes you just look at something and you shrug it off. We all do that every once in a while. We do that once in a while. In this case, yeah, it's controlled by Expedia. I ignored it, but look at the flow. 7,000 now they bought today. Those November 750 calls. They bought 3,500 of the December 8 calls. Some more there. This incredible buying in this name today. Those are huge in terms of open interest on there. And it gave a nice move. And I'm putting this out there to you today because that type of call buying usually leads to a bigger move at some point. The only thing I know is that Priceline has earnings on the Monday after the close. So this could be nothing more than a 2-day trade, okay? The pink dots are the ATR trailing stop on the daily. And you can see it's been below that the entire time. I don't really use it on the daily so much, but it's there. So anyway, put Trivago, guys, on your list for tomorrow, especially if you get any kind of weak opening. I would try to ride it to the 21-day. You do have a little gap up there, right, that we can go into, a gap off that big red candle as well. So you can really take this thing to, looks like about 10, 20 into that range. C. So I've been long C for a little bit now, and this big red candle, that was when they downgraded it. Boy, do I want to go give that guy a big hug. I love him for downgrading the stock. I really, really do. So look at some of the flow into this just in the last couple of days. March 90 calls. 90. You see my comments on this in my service, right? To the people out there in my service. 90, 250K block of it. More, 80,000 more. 10,000 of those got bought up with those March 90s. So somebody's playing for a big move. And if you look at the long-term chart, it's a good move because if we get through this 76, it's going to run towards 90 to 100. There's not much resistance in that area once it gets through. You can see today they were sweeping the June 75 calls. Over 6,000 of them they bought in there today. March 50 calls. That one was yesterday. That one got my attention for this reason. Anybody that comes in and pays $24 for options is a big fund putting a lot of weight into that name. And you see it right there, $24 into the per option, 290 plus of them bought on, they were swept on the March 50 calls. They're coming after C again. They're coming after all the banks, but they really are starting to come after C again. I like this pattern. It took that downgrade, never got to the 50-day, came back quickly to the 8-day and has been riding the 8/21 day now for the last 2 weeks. And you got that nice little curve rounding on it to here to that 74 area, where if we get through here tomorrow, we go. Again, this is going to really depend upon the numbers they throw at us tomorrow on non-farm payroll. Told you I want to talk to you guys again about bank. Why? Because every day, look at them call buying. I pimped it to you guys last week, and by pimping it, I don't care if you guys get into it or not. I don't have a big enough position in any stuff like this. I don't have anything in bank at all at this moment. I might get some here, but look at what's going on. January 30 call block, 1.7 million. January 2019, 34 calls. Hey, some January 28s, Jan 28s more, Feb 29s, Jan 27s, Jan 2019, 30 calls. November 10, 28 50s, and I can't even tell you the amount of weeklies they bought over the last 2 days. Just tremendous amount. Look at that candle, that nice move. This one looks like it's getting ready to run again, gets through the high and tries to move a little bit higher here onto a new all-time high. All right, so I would, I like the banks into the end of the year. I think there's a run here to be had. Micron. Why am I talking about Micron? Well, Micron gave us that beautiful move on Tuesday, and they're still buying the heck out of it here, on and off. So they're coming into the Jan 50 calls now, the November 48 calls. You see a bunch of the weeklies, December 44s. By the way, they were pouring yesterday into the weekly 47 calls. That was probably just somebody rolling out. We'll go over that in a minute. But you can see they're coming after this thing still, and we've seen this every time they have a move like this. They roll up and out, expecting more and more. Yep, it's been a beast. That said, I'd rather wait for the 8-day to connect with it before I took a new position into it again and see how it responds. But that was a beautiful, beautiful move on that, on huge volume the other day. Volume remains elevated in it. This one looks like it wants to go higher. All right, so let's talk about deciphering some of this flow. So that's some of the stuff from this week I've liked. This is the last big week of earnings. Most of the flow has been about earnings, and it is just frustrating because it's just nonstop earnings flow after earnings flow after earnings flow, and it's hard to get a read on what they're really trying to do with it. So today, they were coming in yet again today, and they're hitting GE puts. They've been hitting them every day for the last 7 days. So you have to ask yourself when you look at this type of option activity, should I be getting in here? We have 10 down days in GE. That's a lot of down days, right? It's getting good and oversold. Is this fresh buying or is this a roll down? And that's the real question to ask yourself. I post a lot of flow, right? I don't take most of it. This is just a slideshow right now, Arthur. I'm not scrolling over anything. So I don't take most of it. But you have to ask yourself when you see this, what are they doing here? What they're doing here is they're rolling out and taking profits. Right now, all they do is they're rolling out, and they don't want to be done with it, but they don't want to. They still think it can go lower, but they're taking their profits and they're rolling out their position at that point. Yeah, everybody knows the story. So what's the risk reward when it sees something this extended and they're buying options on it? It's not in your favor. So you have to say to yourself, this is a hard pass. So when you see somebody, if you follow me or you see somebody like this posting this stuff on Twitter, for free, think before you take it. This is not the stuff that should be getting you excited. When you have a stock that's down this far and they're doing this type of activity, you should not be getting excited about it. They could tie, but they weren't. That I am 99.9% sure. They were coming in on the ask. When they're coming in on the ask or close to it, they're usually not sold. And if they were sold, the stock would probably be bouncing on a quick chart off of it as they hedged some of it off, and that wasn't going on either. All right, Scott, ask me that when we get to the Ulta chart because I don't have one here right now. Okay, BABA, earnings flow. So look at those last two. Those came in within the last 10 minutes of the close yesterday in the market. These were buys. BABA, November 180 calls, swept. If they were sold to open, I would be saying it, right? $1.3 million bet into BABA within 10 minutes to go yesterday. BABA, November, 185 call block, 830K, on top of all the other ridiculous flow that came in over that last day. Look, another $1 million bet into Jan 70 into ABA. ABA, by the way, is the old Yahoo. Okay, that's the play on BABA as well. So you can see they were aggressively coming after Alibaba into that yesterday. And some people are like, well, that means it's going to go up, right? All that option flow there, gone. Poof. Worthless today. By the time it opened, wiped out. Right? Not because it was down a lot, because BABA was about break even at that point, because the implied move was 10 plus. If you don't get that move, the options quickly, they decay them. They take the IV out before they let you do anything. You're done. You're toast. So any type of options flow, when you see options flow for earnings, guys, for me, it's always a hard pass. I've seen so many times when there's been great flow and nothing's come out of it, or bearish flow and it hasn't done anything. And the truth is, it's just tough to win on options flow. So you got to decipher that. When you see people posting flow and there's option, always check when earnings are. If it's coming up on earnings and it's a stock that doesn't get a lot of option flow except around earnings, then you should be passing on it because it's probably not going to go anywhere. When you hear the Jarians on halftime pumping an earnings play for the next morning, you probably should be asking yourself, why do I want to touch this stock? Right? If they do that all the time, it drives me insane. And they're good. They're smart guys. But when you put in and say you should be buying a Pfizer the other day before earnings, the day before earnings, I'm like, are you out of your mind? So some things to think about there. NVIDIA. So this was great. 2 days ago, NVIDIA, we got that big gap and go, right? It was up 7. You can see the momentum sweepers were coming in. Weekly 210 calls, weekly 210 calls, weekly 200 calls, more weekly 210 calls. And then that guy comes in, the weekly 215 calls when it's up 7. How often does NVIDIA move more than $7? Just look at the size of those candles there. How often does that happen? Right? It's not often. NVIDIA doesn't generally move except on earnings or something going on in the market that big. So chasing a weekly sweeper when it's up 7, you have to ask yourself, should I be touching that here? That guy was probably taking profits and rolling out. That was probably the 210 guys that came in earlier, and they were rolling out and they wanted to take profits but stay involved in case it went. Now, could they be right at the end of the day? Sure they could. But who knows here? Really, really hard to say. So these are some examples of interpreting this flow when it comes in, guys. You have to look at what the stock has done. Don't just take the flow and buy it. Look at the stock. Look at the 5-minute chart. Look at the daily chart. See where it's at. Is there earnings coming? Is there an event coming? Is there something going on that they're buying into? I do this for everybody in my service. I call it out. I mean, pretty much everything has been saying earnings, 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 so you guys know what's going on in there. When I post stuff for free on Twitter, it's always clean stuff, guys. It's always stuff that just looks good. I don't post stuff out to you guys that are earnings trades or not or anything out there. You guys have any questions on some of the stuff I've gone over with you tonight? All right. So quickly do my service offering, and then we're going to jump into your slides, and we'll start with Ulta for you there, Scott. And then you guys can start putting some names out there. So my service, what do I do? You're welcome. So I do every day, Monday through Friday, I post a daily recap video, and it's usually anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes long, depending upon the action. And it goes over what happened in the market, what I traded, what looks good going into tomorrow, and what's swingable moving forward. So we always do that every day. It depends upon the action. Some days there's less than others if there's nothing going on or if there's an event coming. Every Thursday night at 6, I do a subscriber webinar. It's a weekly webinar, and it's for mentoring. So this is where you guys can come in and ask any questions you want, go over positions you're having problems with, try to understand how to trade options better. It's anywhere from a half hour to an hour, depending upon how I feel or what's going on that day or how many questions we have. What I've started to do now in the last couple of weeks is every morning I deliver a morning setups video by 8:30. It's quick. It's about 5 minutes long. I do it late so we can make sure the market is up to date, know what's going on, futures are down, what kind of upgrades and downgrades we have. And these are my best ideas for the day. These are some of the positions I'm looking to trade or what you should be keeping an eye on. Remember, I don't take everything, I pull it out in there because I can't. I just can't keep track of everything throughout the day and call it the flow. And I also have a private Twitter feed. Everything goes on there, including all the videos, real-time option flow. I post news and market updates, downgrades, uptrades, earnings. Any trades are posted in there with hashtags so you can track them, exits and entrances. So like today I traded Costco. I got into December 165s at 320s when it came back and retouched the 200-day. Took my first sale of half the position at 425, posted that to everybody. Next piece out was at 450, and then I put a stop in at 4 for the rest, which got hit. So that's there for you guys every day. If you're interested in this, AlphaShark.com/best coaching is $49 for the first month. It renews at $99. I am a full-time trader. This is all I do. If this is something you're interested in, please join me at this point. I'd love to have you on board. Sure, I don't have a historical. I've been making money. I've been doing this for a couple of years now on my own, so I don't actually have that. I try to keep my losses small and let my winners run when I can. So generally, that's how I try to trade. I usually try to put stops in place to make sure I don't get caught in big things. Occasionally, I get caught in a gap down. That happens to all of us, and there's nothing you can do about it. In addition to my service, I do offering mentoring. If you're struggling or you want to learn how to trade better or trade like I do, come on over to smartoptiontrading.com. I do option trading, technical training, and trade reviews. Sometimes you just need somebody else to take a look at your trades, see what you're doing, what's going on. It's a minimum of a 1-hour session that's broken up over time. Multiple hour sessions can be broken up over time. If you're interested, email me at mike@smartoptiontrading.com or private message me on Twitter. Yeah, Costco hit the 200-day. It was on a daily chart, James. That's exactly it. People who stay with me, they love my trades. I'm pretty successful on them. My other trade today was AMD. I've lost $90 on it. I tried chasing it with common into there and I pulled it out. No, this has nothing to do with his option hacker service, Robert. I do this on my own. And yes, Apple for tomorrow's opening. So let's go. So if you have more questions, I'll go ahead. I use Twitter in a very simple way to communicate because I can post things real time. If you have TweetDeck, it'll automatically scroll up for you. So let me see, pull it up real quick. So if you guys use TweetDeck, this is an example, and it automatically refreshes for you. You don't have to go and look at it, and you'll see all the flow and everything going on throughout the day that's going on there. You'll see news coming in off my news feed here, imbalance stuff. Let's see some of my trades. We'll see what's going on. Subscriber webinar link, right? Let's go down, 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 down. Let's go scroll. You can see all the flow. This is all the stuff I'm picking up on throughout the day and calling it out. If I see stuff, I also come out and put charts up in the middle of the day. Cores, and here you go, see my out of AMD. If I have a losing trade, it's posted right here, out AMD 1085 from 1094, small loss on 1,000 shares. Here's my trade on Costco, stopping the last few calls. You can see how this played out throughout the day. Anyway, so I post all that stuff there. Every trade is not a winner, Kishar, right? And it's up to you to manage your trades. I manage my own. I put stops in place, and I don't let them go to worthless. That's how I trade. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Also, you have to have the right entrance. Yep, I can absolutely post the link in chat. It's $49 for the first month. 90 renews at 99 Pro. There you go. Should all have that. All right. Any more questions, or you want to go to your charts? And I do appreciate the questions. They're great for day trading or for swing trading. It just depends on what you want to do. I post it all and I'll go over, I'll tell you which ones I think are good for swinging and which ones are not. All right. So let's start. A couple minutes of your charts here, guys, before my throat gives out. Ulta, you were asking about, Scott. So how do you determine when to go into something like Ulta? So Ulta here, been this huge downward move now since 300. I've traded a couple times in and out of here. There was some bullish bets. So yesterday there were puts. Was it yesterday? Yesterday there was puts on it, and I think they were bought at that point. And then today you had a big block of 215s, right? If I remember correctly, a 500 something $1,000 bet into the 215. Thank you, you got it there. That went in. So yesterday that big move was off of Estee Lauder, right? So you have to also look out to see what else is being traded out there and what else is going on in earnings. Estee Lauder had big earnings, and they came out there and they drilled into that. And today it came down. That call buyer today was not a sweeper, it was a block. They're probably playing off of earnings. So that's why I didn't even look at it, Scott. That is probably somebody looking at an earnings play. Here's what I will tell you. I like this setup here. We have a series of higher lows. Let me see if I can grab this real quick. Right, we have a series of higher lows. We have a nice little uptrend now. Right, see, it's kind of a little uptrend, not drawn real well, and it still can't get above the 21-day. Right, so since we've lost it up here, since here, right, we haven't been able to really hold the 21-day. We played with it here, but couldn't hold it. And now with the first time we're coming into it. So for me to really get interested in Ulta here, I would want to see some sweepers, Scott, or I'd want to close above the 21-day. Also, we filled this gap. The gap is filled in a little bit. So I think it's more of a, maybe it tries to run into earnings. I could watch it, but I don't have a strong compassion or compelling interest in it right now, especially with all the Amazon news out there over it about getting into beauty. All right, so let me get back up. Thank you. X. Fold, small biotech. That thing's had some unbelievable flow throughout the year. It's resting. I don't know when earnings are on it. I don't know if it had it or not yet, Noel. I know the option flow just keeps coming into it. It's been quiet now for the last week or two. It looks like it's consolidating. I mean, this thing ran from 450. It's up at 14. That's a massive move. It looks like just in sideways consolidation here. I think as long as it continues to hold above this sideways channel, you're okay with it. It's holding the gap, and that's the only good news there. It looks okay. Biotech is just under pressure right now, so it's hard for me to get overly excited, except I know pressure it's going in the right direction, the sentiment. So usually we get some kind of reversal there. How to identify it's not working and when to quit. Kishar, what I do is I have a set amount of money I'll usually want to lose or want to get out of. So if we look at X, I'll go through that for you. Come on. So X trades really sloppy, right? And I always say X is a better buy on weakness than on strength. So down here, looked horrible. Gaps up on earnings, but don't buy into here because they downgraded intraday, right? So it comes into here. So when do you want to get into X? You want to get into X when it's at its weakest. That's usually a great spot. And if it loses the 8-day, it usually loses momentum. You can see this one, when it loses the 8-day, it just loses momentum at that point. The best way to do it is to say I'm willing to lose X amount on this trade and put that stop in place there. But don't try to buy highs. Don't try to buy it into strength. That doesn't work in that name. That's what I've noticed about it. That's what I've learned on it. All right. Okay, BA. BA had a nice move today. I remember seeing that. In fact, somebody was asking about me earlier today about it, and I said I thought it looked good, but I didn't know how long it was going to take before it was ready to go again. It woke up today. This was earnings. Earnings were great. There was nothing wrong with earnings. It had just run a ton. And today, I think there was order information, right? There was on new planes that came out on that one. It looks great here. Nice move today. There's no call buying. They don't come buying into this name anymore since it got expensive, which is kind of frustrating. I think you can be long here versus the 8-day. As long as it holds the 8-day, it should be okay. Make sure you can see the reaction tomorrow though before you do anything to the jobs number. And then you have obviously resistance at 264. 264 is a critical number. It's going to need some volume. If it gets through there, you're back into blue sky territory. We had a nice trade on BA back in this here in the service, right in right in here. We were playing in it up in here. Beautiful trade through that. LYV, JD? I don't know that one. Ooh. Earnings? Ugly? So it's trying to hold this previous candle right here. It's not great support. Yeah, I see it. Honestly, I would probably look for a 38 area on it if it was that bad. If earnings were really bad, I'd look for a 38. I don't know what they were. But there is better support here than through this area up in here. Maybe the 100-day holds it. I don't know. I don't know enough about the name. I don't know how bad earnings were. So you're going to have to take a look at that one. Don't like the chart here, that's for sure, from a long. From a short, I think it can go shorter. It's out of the Bollinger Bands. It may take a day or two, may consolidate a bit first before it goes. Tesla, so Tesla, to me, Tesla, it's a tough name. To me, it's still a potential head. It's a head and shoulders chop that is triggered. So left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Here was your neckline through here. Held the 200-day, lost it. The measured move from here to there is roughly 280. That would bring us to right about here, which would fill this small gap at this point, and that would make sense where it would go to if it really wants to sell off. That said, it is oversold on RSI. It's come down a lot already. There was some call nibblers late in the day into the 305s that expire tomorrow, so maybe sometime a short-term bounce here. But the one thing I know about Tesla is when they want it, they'll come screaming for it again. So I would watch to see what it does from here. It could trip lower, though. I think 280 is definitely in play. Apple, Facebook. Well, Don, Apple obviously is through the roof here. We all know Apple's up big. You know it's been a long day when you just cannot see anymore. Apple's up big. Last I saw, we'll go look. Why not? The man, the conqueror. 173.38. All right. So we're up big here at this point. We're way up here. We'll see how it holds tomorrow, if it's a gap and go or not. They raised guidance, big beat both top and bottom, and raised guidance. That's really good for Apple. That said, it's run a lot now in the last week and a half. It may need to consolidate up here a bit before it goes. We do like Apple when it's in play. The last couple times it's been in earnings, we had some nice gap and goes. It's not unusual, though, for it to sell off, come down a little bit before it goes, like the last earnings time. So we'll see if it does that. Facebook, there was huge call buying into Facebook the last couple days. And my theory, guys, is that these funds and everybody got caught with their pants down with Google and Amazon, and they bought the hell out of all these stocks ahead of earnings. And it made it a heck of a lot easier for the market makers to make sure that nobody got paid. So Facebook, after going all the way up yesterday, had great earnings, raised expenses, and came in today and hit the 8-day, and it held. The one thing I worry about with Facebook, it has a history of selling off after earnings. Here's earnings here. Earnings, sells off. Earnings, sells off. Earnings, sells off. Go sideways. So I'll wait to see if they come for it big or some type of reversal here tomorrow. I couldn't tell you with the flow today. It was a mess. The flow was an absolute mess in it today. Amazon tomorrow, guys, should be on everybody's watch list tomorrow. And this is why. They started buying for it heavily this afternoon. So I would love to see it touch the 8-day all the way down here, which should be about reconnecting this previous breakout. But right now it's holding the previous high. It's consolidating, it's extended, it's heated, it's letting things catch up. But they're buying the weekly 1100s, next week's 1100s. I think there were some December and November 1100s too. Just a bunch of call buying in Amazon this today that came in late into it and just kept coming. So I like Amazon here moving forward. Keep an eye on it. 8-day would be a better entrance, but I don't think we're going to get it at this point unless the bank numbers are just bad. Fold earnings, okay. Apple we went over. EEM, yeah, there was some, I think there was some flow into EEM yesterday or the day before. Come on. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, November, a couple of days, well, November 10th, 4650s was a while ago, but I thought I saw something yesterday. I may not have it anymore. Anyway, yeah, there's been some small flow into it. Nothing magical or nothing special into this one. AGN, there was put buying today. I remember that. You know, again, another name. Extended down, RSI's oversold, but it can get like that in this name. Horrible move after finally getting back going again from, you know, here all the way down to here to 175 from 252, 250, what was it, 255? It's showing no signs of life here yet. Today they were buying puts on it again. They bought the November 175 puts. 325 of them were swept, and there was more of them in volume there. So I'm not looking at AGN yet. I haven't seen any reason. Gilead is the same way. Gilead has been selling off ever since earnings. All these biotechs just coming down. All those call buyers aren't working. It's given no reason to get into it. The call buyers that came in, they went to March. They're not working, or January. None of them are working here yet at this point. It's given back this whole move. It's extended to the downside. It's time to start looking for a reversal, but I need to see a reversal candle in it at this point, and there's nothing there. There's no reason to enter it. NWL. What did I remember seeing on that? I saw something on that. Oh, yeah, that's why. Man. Go to a weekly. All right. So on a weekly chart, by the way, that is hideous. That is beyond hideous. It came into support here, right? You can see it. Hit some support in this area. If it can't hold here, I would try the bottom of that range, which it held a bunch of times, and the last area would be down to this 26 area. So those are the areas I'd look for support on it. This could give a nice bounce here, though. It's very extended oversold. You could get a nice look for a reversal candle, a hammer type reversal candle, but I would look for a reversal there where it goes below and then comes back above today's close and try to take it there. We did Amazon, Gilead, Google. Google was on my list today. We talked about it. I missed the entrance on it when I was playing with Costco. It actually tagged the 8-day, which was nice. And it doesn't show it on this chart. You know, it's always funny. Tosh shows it tagging the 8-day. They don't show it close here. Oh, it's on a weekly. That's why. Thanks, guys. Somebody needs to wake me up. All right. There we go. Just about tagged the 8-day. I did not like this candle, right? Earnings candle. I don't like how much is sold off. That said, it's acting really well here. It's consolidating as the moving averages are catching up. As the markets hold in, I think at some point there's a trade back to this high here, 1064. I'd like to see the markets hold in. You know, markets need to hold in, and I'm a little worried I'm rotating out of some of these names now and back into some other places, into more of the underbelly here. But I do like Amazon. I do like Google. Qualcomm had nice earnings today, right? I have one problem with Qualcomm. You had nice earnings. You've had a nice 2-day move here. My problem is with Apple moving away from them. They don't. A lot of the revenue comes from Apple. I'm a little worried about where they go from here. So you have a gap here that runs all the way up to 5670 area. So it can try to go fill that. It got extended up here and just pull back to this area of support right at the gap. See if they come for it again. Yeah, there was some huge flow into the 52 calls on Wednesday ahead of earnings. You're absolutely right, Robert. There was, but that was an earnings bet. So I'd like to see them come back for it now that earnings are over. Does that make sense? Yeah, I didn't catch any flow. Did I? Yeah. There was a weekly 55.50 call sweeper today, but it was small, very, very small. Micron, we talked about in the slides, Don. I think it consolidates here, and I think with the flow, they want to push it higher. You just have to be aware you're going to have earnings again in about a month, but I think they do want. That said, it probably wants to cool off a little bit, might go sideways. I'd rather let the 8-day catch up before I took a trade on Micron. Oh, you're welcome, Prem. Again, flow is a good thing. I like it. See how the market reacts tomorrow. See what they're doing. Microsoft. They were buying Microsoft again today too, like mad. What were they buying in Microsoft today? Weekly 84s, December 1st 86s, and November 83 calls. There was a lot of those that went off today in Microsoft. Again, beautiful gap. My only concern here is this thing is, for a name like this, it's ungodly overheated. I don't want to initiate up here. I'd rather get a dip. That said, it's holding the gap like a pro, right? This is a huge pro gap, and it's holding it really well. It's consolidating. If the 8-day catches up and it hasn't gone, that should give it a launch. That would be something I'd watch for. And keep an eye on the option flow. They're still coming after it. Netflix, James. Love Netflix going into tomorrow. Love Netflix. Of course, that means it's not going to do anything, right? You know that right now. Why do I love Netflix? I love Netflix because it's been consolidating since that earnings move. It had it first. Earnings were good, just not bad. Everybody's out of the way now. Woke up. It needs to clear 200 with power. That's the problem, James. It gets above 200, this thing runs. It was strong all day. When the market was weak, when other names were selling, that thing held in all day. The last couple sessions, it's been holding in really well. I like it. I really, really like it now. I think it goes a lot higher here. I think, okay, a lot higher. It gets through 200. I think there's very little resistance to retest the highs, which are up around 240. Let's call it 204.60. Okay, so you got a nice $5 or $6 trade there. I'm in the November 205s here. I'm either going to add or roll them out to December, probably tomorrow at some point. So I like that one. I like it a lot. NVIDIA, I don't know. NVIDIA's a tough one for me here, guys. Got to admit, NVIDIA has been a buy. I'm going to scroll it in for you, zoom it in for you. It continues to be a buy off the 8-day. So, we come up, we go sideways, we go higher, comes into the 8-day, holds. That was the only day that we broke it. I think the market was really weak that day. Back above it, and we go to a new high, and all we're doing now is pulling back. It's heated. It's run a ton. Usually the first test of the 8-day, unless the market's really weak or something else is going on, the semis, it holds. I would try to buy it there if we can get a dip to it. They may try to run this tomorrow only because there's a lot of open interest in weeklies that they're going to want to get out of. Harry, AMD is a mess. I tried AMD today, and I can show you exactly why I tried AMD today. And, People say, why do you take trades? So, make this easy for you. AMD, right here. I do post open interest changes every day too on my feed. AMD weekly 11 call sweeper, 20K. A little bit more, another 15K more. And then I caught the news. Okay, traders are circulating a tweet in regards to certain mining equipment for Bitcoin being obsolete. AMD is one of the, everybody loves them for that. So I took some common. I don't like options on AMD, so I grabbed some common at 1096. It's, another, as I was doing, another 21K came in. They kept coming from it. There was over 3,700 of them traded, over 8,000 of them traded. They started hitting the 1150s, right? You can see they're moving up, and it just wasn't trading right. I couldn't get green. I couldn't hold it, and I usually give a 15-cent stop on 1,000 shares of AMD. That's 150 bucks. If it can't hold 15 cents, it's gone the wrong way. I'm in a bad trade. I just blew out of it at 0.90 just because it just wasn't my cup of tea. But you can see why I took the trade. From a long-term perspective here, guys, what do I think of AMD? It's going to eventually find its buyers again. Right now, it couldn't hold 12 last week, and 12 I thought was strong support. And if it had held that, I think it had a good chance to go higher. It's oversold. It doesn't get oversold very often. It's got a bear flag formation here, right? Here's your flag, your temp pole. If I was looking for support, right, where it's holding into right here, this would be my line in the sand. Right here, this 10 area would be the next area. That would be your big area support if it can't hold here. The good news is when they want it, they come screaming for it. Bad news is right now the shorts are in control. FDX. All right, we're going to do just a couple more. No more, please, guys. It's almost 9 o'clock. I love doing this for you. Maybe one time we'll just do this for the whole hour. FDX. So I can't not love FDX here with what's about to happen. What are we entering into? What time of year? Come on, somebody. What time of year is it? Shopping. It's Amazon season. Right? You have an uptrend. Make it even better. You have an accelerated uptrend right here. It's holding it. I would try to stay long versus go long versus that. Okay? Which is also right around the 21 day now, which is nice support. You have a reversal candle today. It could have gone lower. It reversed and came back up. If this is going to be any good, it's going to go higher from here. I absolutely am. I give feedback on plays I like or stuff I had, even if I don't take it, Robert. Intel going over 50 with the call buying you think it would. I didn't post it, guys, because there's so much call buying in Intel and the things run so damn much. I just don't want people chasing it here. But they're buying calls on it every day, back and forth. I mean, you can't initiate up here, guys. I would be doing you guys a disfavor if I got you guys to start chasing charts like this. It's just going to get you into trouble more times than not. So, yeah, they do it all over, David, on FedEx. So I'm not trying to, I think it's going to go higher. I think it's probably going to take out 50. That said, I can't even look at it here at this point. It's not even on my eyes. It's not there. All right. What else? I'm going to do a couple more real quick. No more posting on, guys, please. GoPro. Yeah, Amazon was weak today, but they're buying options on it. They don't buy them all that often on Amazon. GoPro earnings bad. Here it is. It took a big tail off the 200-day support. See how it plays after that. I don't know. I don't have a good feel on this one, only because it trades so bad and it really doesn't have a good product line. It has one product. I'm not in it. I don't usually trade it anymore at this point. I traded it when it was up towards 70 bucks. I haven't traded it since then, I don't think. So the chart right now, you got to give it a couple of days after earnings to let it settle out to see what it does. 9 areas support. It needs to be able to hold that. If it can't hold 9, then you're going to fill the rest of this gap below it down to 828. Expedia, they had bad earnings, didn't they? Thanks, Rob. Thanks for coming in tonight. Yeah, they had bad earnings. Oversold. See how you have to give it a couple of days. So the couple of days has gone back and forth. It tried to push in the gap, couldn't hold, got sold off at this point. Really extended, oversold, No call buying, nothing going on in here. Most likely, you got to let the 8-day come down. Maybe it trades up to the 8-day at some point, but if they want it, they will buy calls on Expedia, and I haven't seen anything on it at this point. It is at support. That's the only good news. What's interesting is CMF is staying up on it. That's really interesting all the way down here. That means institutions are still staying with it. Might be because they're waiting for Priceline. Priceline, if you look at Priceline on Monday Night Pro, will move Expedia. That's why Expedia moved on Priceline. Priceline moved on Expedia. Expedia will move on Priceline. If Priceline's bad, look out. If Priceline's good, it'll try to bounce. And you can probably get a play off of that. All right, last one, Lulu. I no longer have Lulu. I've traded it, made good money on it all year long. Got to wait for earnings. It's been in this long sideways channel that just refuses to break either way, right? Roughly just trading sideways now forever in this channel. It's probably going to wait to earnings before it goes, guys. So you can try taking it off the bottom at this point, but you got to get out when it gets to the top of the channel. Guys, thank you everybody for joining tonight. Again, Mike, you can follow me on Twitter, Options Mike. If you like my service, it's AlphaShark.com/bestcoaching. I appreciate you guys all joining me. JD, I've just gotten good at it. I just gotten good at watching this stuff and doing it. And that's why, you know, when I say I give you guys a setup so I don't take every trade, it's because I'm getting the flow. I can't see everything. So I miss trades because I'm busy getting the flow. Does that make sense? Right? Because I'm not fully focused on the charts all the time or everything. And I miss, you miss things, and that's okay. I like doing this, and that's why I charge a little bit to make up for the money I miss when I'm trading. But I make the majority of my money off of trading, guys, so that's how I do it. Anyway, appreciate it. Everybody have a great night, and I'll see you all mañana. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Simon. Have a good one, guys.